Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and we are back with another tier list. And today, it's a tier list on all of the Twisted Metal 4 characters, except for the create a character. My previous tier list videos have done absolutely amazing in terms of community feedback, and you guys seem to really like them. So we're continuing the series here with TM4, and then next will be Small Brawl, Black, and then Head On. And of course, if you want me to do it on the 2012 PS3 version of Twisted Metal, I definitely can as well. But starting off, we're going to be going from left to right, and I also am including, of course, the boss characters as well, because you can play as them in the game without any cheat codes, which is really cool. But we're going to start with Mr. Warthog, aka General Warthog. They are one of the very few cars that are returning in Twisted Metal 4 from the previous games. Now, that's before we bring in the boss battles. Most of the boss characters are old characters that have been brought back as just bosses, which is a cool idea in my opinion. But for some reason, with General Warthog and with Mr. Grimm, they are the only characters that made returns as just regular vehicles. They're not a boss battle, so kind of weird, but still cool to see them return regardless. And with General Warthog, looking at his stats, his handling is a 1, his armor is a 4, his special weapon is a 4, and his speed is a 2. I truthfully have to agree with these stats. In general, with playing as him, he feels about what these stats are saying. His speed is pretty meh. He's really slow. He's a very slow character. His handling is pretty bad because he's a tank. It makes sense, right? And this is the first time that Warthog is a literal tank. Like, he looks more like a tank in this game than Minion has ever looked like a tank in any Twisted Metal. It's actually kind of crazy. So I actually really like his design. I think it's pretty unique. It looks really cool, but in practicality, it's super slow. It's hard to handle. The only real benefit of him is his armor. I'm not a huge fan of his special weapon, but it can do quite a bit of damage if you get a direct hit. But with the way the AI works in this game, it's really difficult to do that unless you freeze somebody and then plant your special right next to them and set it off. So in my opinion, I'm going to give Warthog a B rating because he does have really good armor. His special can do a lot of damage. It just takes a little bit of skill to actually use it effectively. But his speed and handling definitely knock him down a few notches, so I feel that B rating is pretty fair. Next is Super Auger. This is one of the bosses in the game, and it's a returning character from TM3, which I absolutely despise. I always disliked Auger, because to me, they're just like the bastardized child of Mr. Slam, and they're just not nearly as good as Mr. Slam. So, to me personally, I'm going to have to put him in the trash tier, even though he's a boss battle in this game. When you have Mr. Slam in the same game, he's just going to overtake you, and he's going to be better every way, shape, or form. So yeah, he's super slow, he's got really bad handling, he has okay armor, and his special still kind of sucks. So in my opinion, he is trash tier. I also should say that with all of the boss battles, there's no specific stats you can look at for these vehicles, so I'm basing this 100% just based off gameplay and my own personal impressions. Moving on to Drag Queen. Now, Drag Queen, I actually really enjoyed the design of the character. Obviously, I'm not going to get into the logistics of the actual person driving the vehicle. I still think it's a joke in poor taste, but that's just me. That being said, the actual vehicle itself, the handling is a 1-star, the armor is 2-star, the special is 3-star, and the speed is 4-star. So it's like a perfect going down the line, if you will. But I gotta say, in terms of actual gameplay, Drag Queen's really fun to play. I always really enjoy their vehicle. They are the much better version of Firestarter from Twisted Metal 3. They just have a much better special weapon in general. It's a lot stronger. The car looks a lot better, and it drives a lot better. It's a lot faster as well. So truthfully, with Drag Queen, I'm going to give them an A tier, mainly because, again, they're a lot of fun to play, and their special weapon is really, really strong. Super Axel is next. Of course, Axel is a returning favorite. He's one of my favorite characters in the entire series, and he is insanely strong here. Like, they made his special, they basically brought back Twisted Metal 2's version of Axel here, and I absolutely love it. I love the design. He's super scary looking. I love the spikes sticking out of both the wheels on both sides. His special not only does the same amount of blast damage as we got in Twisted Metal 2, but it sets your opponents ablaze. So he is just the ultimate, aka Super Axel. And so yeah, he is definitely an S tier character. Moving on to Crusher, just like Auger, he's kind of just like a rejected version of Mr. Slam. I have to say though, I do love his design a lot more than Auger's. I think he just looks a lot cooler. I like the giant pincers in the front. You know, the actual crushing mechanism is really unique. And I think his special does do more damage than Auger's does, but not by a lot. He's roughly the same amount of speed, same handling, same armor as Auger. So I'm not going to say that he is specifically trash tier. I am going to move him up to C tier, but he is definitely not above C. And once again, we have Mr. Slam returning back to the Twisted Metal franchise. And so glad to see him back from Twisted Metal 2. Absolutely one of the best characters in that game. And he's no different here. I think he's really decent. He's got decent speed for his vehicle, really good armor, and his special is just as strong as ever. And of course, it's an iconic character, right? So I'm honestly going to put Mr. Slam at A tier. I know I'm going through these kind of quick, mainly because there's a lot more characters here than we've done in our previous tier list, so bear with me. Next is Gogolize. And Gogolize was a really unique character. I actually really love the design of the vehicle. I think it's really cool, and it does fit the Twisted Metal universe and being very wacky and cynical. But it's really funny, looking at his stats, you'd think this guy should be super overpowered. So he has a 3-star handling, 3-star armor, 4-star special, and 3-star speed. But I don't think any of that's accurate. I think his armor is more of a 2-star. He does seem pretty squishy, and a lot of that has to do with him being a very top-heavy vehicle. Like, he can get knocked over super easily and be sent flying super easily as well. So yeah, armor, I'm going to give it 2-star. His handling, pretty much the same. I'd say about a 2-star rating for the handling. And the speed as well. I don't feel like he's a very fast vehicle at all. I would argue he's pretty slow. So again, I'd say a 2-star for his speed. For the special weapon, however, it's kind of funny because his special weapon is so strong that it even slows down the entire game when you use it. Like, I'm not even joking. The frame rate just shits the bed whenever you use his special, which is really funny. But his special weapon can do quite a bit of damage if you get somebody in the entire special when you're using it. So it's one of those ones like Drag Queen where you kind of want to freeze the enemy before shooting it. But if you can get the entire special on somebody, it will do quite a bit of damage. But it takes a little bit of skill to be able to use it effectively. Truthfully, I love the design of Gogolize, but I'm going to have to put him in C tier, mainly because of the terrible handling, pretty mediocre speed, and armor. Next is Super Thumper, which I've said this before, and it's so true. I absolutely love his design in this game. He is by far my favorite version of Thumper in any way, shape, or form. He just looks super badass. I love the bright pink concept with like the metallic look, and his special is by far the strongest he's ever had a special in a Twisted Metal game. He is Drag Queen's fire special, just 10 times stronger. So I gotta give Super Thumper the S tier. Moving on to the Joneses. This is another new character added to the game, and I don't really mind them too much. I actually think they belong more in like Vigilante 8 personally than in Twisted Metal. But I do like them for what they are. I think the design of the car is really iconic and silly. It's obviously a play off of the Griswolds, if you've ever seen those movies. But yeah, their handling is a 3-star, their armor is a 2-star, their special weapon is a 2-star, and their speed is a 3-star. I pretty much agree with all those stats. It's pretty accurate. They're not super fast. They're kind of medium in terms of their speed. Their special weapon, I feel, should be stronger. It's really cool looking, and it homes in on the enemy, and it's it's basically Warthog special from the previous game. It just runs a lot slower, but it does barely any damage. It's pretty useless in my opinion. And also the armor is pretty weak as well. It's a pretty weak vehicle, but the handling and the speed alone make it pretty fun to play. It's just a real bummer that the special weapon is so mediocre. So honestly, I'm gonna have to put the Joneses in C tier. Next is Quattro, probably one of the most unique vehicles in the entire game. Not only in terms of the character behind the car, but also just the vehicle itself. It's actually the first ever Twisted Metal vehicle that does not have wheels. It completely floats. But they treated it like a regular vehicle. It doesn't actually fly around the map like a helicopter or anything. It stays on the ground, but it does hover, which is pretty dope, honestly. I really love that design. And that being said, though, it's pretty much like the new Mr. Grimm in a way, where it's meant to be a glass cannon. However, they truly threw that definition out the window because they gave him a special weapon that just is super weak. It's a really weak version of Axel's special. It doesn't set anybody on fire. It does do some crowd control, but it doesn't do much damage at all. So he's extremely fast. He's extremely good at handling. He's a lot of fun to drive around in. But yeah, his special weapon's only a 2-star, and his armor, of course, is a 1-star because it's basically a little tiny motorcycle. But yeah, it's just, Quattro is a really unique character for me. I want to give him the leg up because he's so cool and unique. but because the special weapon is just so meek compared to the rest of the vehicles in the game, I'm going to have to put him in B tier. Next is Pizza Boy. I actually made an entire video on this guy saying that in my personal opinion, he is one of the most, if not the most underrated character in the entire franchise. And I really wish they would bring him back for future games. Because if you think about it, in Twisted Metal universe, there would probably be a Pizza Boy who would take their car and join the contest. I love the design of the vehicle. I love the guy behind the vehicle. And I love his special weapon. The 2 pizza blades flying out from the car and homing in on an opponent is such a cool and unique special weapon. The only downside to him is that his special weapon doesn't do a whole lot of damage. If I had a perfect wish, it would be that his special would do more damage. That would be it. If he could do more damage with his special weapon, I would put him in S tier. But because his special does pretty much the same amount of damage as the Joneses, I'm gonna have to put him in A tier. The reasoning for that is not only because the design of his car is awesome and being a Pizza Boy is cool, but he's super fast, he's really fun to handle, and he's got decent armor. I think in the game, I think he's rated at like a 2 or a 3-star armor, but truthfully, he feels a lot stronger than that. So yeah, Pizza Boy is definitely an A tier character for me. Next is Maid, essentially just taking over the Outlaw character. It was a huge bummer not to see Outlaw in this game. But yeah, Maid's pretty much the same character. It's just a little tiny vehicle. It's a really silly little car. I actually do like the design of it. It's pretty funny. But the handling is only 3 stars. The armor is 1 star. So again, it's supposed to be like a glass cannon character. Special weapons 3 stars, and the speed is 2. The major thing Maid has going for them though is their special weapon, in the sense that not only is it the exact same taser weapon we've seen with Outlaw in the past, it can connect to multiple people, it can send them up in the air for a little bit of crowd control, and it does decent damage, not a whole lot, but the major benefit is that it not only does it do damage, but it actually regenerates your own health while connecting to other vehicles. So you can actually pretty much be indestructible if you're playing as Maid and you have specials stacked up. So that's why I feel their special is better than 3 stars in my opinion. But the fact that their speed is pretty slow, their armor is super weak, and their handling is just okay, I'm going to have to probably put them in a B tier for now. Microblast, trash. And Mr. Zombie. Now, this was a character I've gotten a lot of requests for, like, can you do a full video on this guy? Like, we need to see more on Mr. Zombie. I totally understand why. He's a super unique character, and it's the first time in the Twisted Metal series that they created a character based off a real person, which is Mr. Zombie, Rob Zombie. So, it's kind of funny. It's one of those things where, like, it's really cheesy, but it also really works in the Twisted Metal universe. I would have never found Rob Zombie if it wasn't for this game, and I still listen to his music to this day. And his car is one of my favorites in the game. I mean, his handling is 5 stars. It's insanely fun to drive. Speed is pretty much middle down the road. It's not very fast, but it's not slow either. And his special weapon, even though it says it's only 3 stars, I would give it a 5 star. Not only does it connect to the vehicle and stick it in place, but it explodes and it leaves your vehicle on fire, so it does a ton of damage. Oh, it also does damage while it's keeping that person in place. So yeah, his special is pretty nuts. On top of that, he has pretty decent armor. He's not very weak, even though if you look at his vehicle, he's pretty open to the elements. You would think he'd be on the weaker side. That is not the case. Even though I love Rob Zombie and I might have a little bit of a bias here, I'm still gonna put him in S tier. Next is Calypso, which just feels super weird to say because Calypso's always been the guy running the contest. He's never been an actual character you could play as in the game. And that was the whole turning point of Twisted Metal 4, and that Sweet Tooth takes over the contest. And that now you can play as Calypso, which is super cool. And I actually really like the design of his vehicle. He's literally a nuke truck. His special is a nuclear weapon, which is overpowered. It really is. His special weapon, of course, is a 5-star rating. His armor is 5 stars, and then his speed and handling are both 1 stars, and rightfully so. He's a giant truck, so of course he's going to be slow. He's going to be hard to handle. But yeah, his armor and special weapon more than make up for it. He is super fun to use. His special is a little bit difficult to aim at times to get directly on an opponent, but if you get a direct hit, it does a massive amount of damage. So honestly, I'm gonna have to put him in A tier. He would have been an S tier if his speed and or handling were just a little bit better. Next is Orbital. Now this is a character I'm gonna get, I know for a fact, if anybody out there is a fan of Twisted Metal 4, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this one. I just truly do not understand the love for this character. I've never understood it. I know so many people who think Orbital is their favorite character in the game, and they will choose them 9 times out of 10. I just don't understand it. I really have never liked this vehicle. I've always had terrible playthroughs with them, and it's going to be interesting when I actually get to that playthrough on my channel here. But that being said, looking at their stats alone, their handling is 5 stars, their speed is 5 stars because it is a nice sports vehicle. It looks really cool. I love the design of the car. Special weapon, it says, is a 3-star. Well, I'll get to that. And the armor is 2 stars, which makes sense. It's a sports vehicle. It's not going to be super heavy in its armor. But here's the thing. Even though it's a very fast vehicle and it is fun to drive because it's got really good handling, I get that. You know, I totally get that. But there's other options in the game that do the exact same thing, but they have a much better special weapon. Now, Orbital Special, all it really is a ball of light that sucks opponents in and then it freezes them. It doesn't do any damage to them while they're in the portal, and it doesn't leave them injured after the freeze blast goes off. Now, I know people can argue that his special weapon can be cheesed. You can like use it over ledges and it freezes somebody and they fall to their death. I get that. I totally understand that. But then you look at Mr. Zombie and you're like, you can do the exact same thing with his special. Just do a freeze bomb right before it blows up. And then not only do you get a ton of damage on the character, but you get the exact same outcome you would have gotten without Orbital Special, but you did a lot of damage. So yeah, for me personally, I just don't understand the love for Orbital. I've never really liked his character, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and because he's a fun character to drive around in, being a very fast vehicle, I'm going to give him a B tier. Next is RC Car, which this is like the weirdest, like by far the weirdest character I think in a Twisted Metal game in terms of their design, and it's literally an RC vehicle. Even though they're on my favorite map in the game, I'm sadly going to have to give them a trash tier because their special weapon is super weak. The car itself is super weak. It's very slow, and you can really just knock it out of the game because it's so light. It's like got helium in it. So yeah, he's definitely a trash tier character. Next is Mr. Grimm, which is another returning character that's not a boss character, and it's really weird. This is the first time that Mr. Grimm is not in a motorcycle, and it really feels like sacrilege that that's the case. And truthfully, I feel they should have named him Roadkill because he kind of reminds me of a Roadkill character. He's really just middle of the road. The only thing that is Mr. Grimm-esque about him is his armor. He only has a 1-star rating for his armor, just like all the other games. But yeah, his speed is 4 stars and his handling is 5 stars, but his special weapon is a 3-star. It just, what? That's not Mr. Grimm. He's always usually had the best special in the game, and rightfully so. But yeah, this time around, he's only got a 3-star. It's just a cannon. It's just he's a pirate. It's super weird. So yeah, he's a pirate this time, and he shoots a cannon, and it does minimal damage. It does set the opponent on fire, but there's so many other specials out there that are better in this game. So yeah, Mr. Grimm's a huge letdown in my opinion. I've never liked playing as him. I just feel he's very blah as a character. So I don't think he's necessarily bad enough to be trash, but I do think he is a C tier character. Next is Mr. Trashman. This guy is, I don't know, I guess he's another rejected version of Mr. Slam. They just tried all these different type of like construction vehicles, and Trashman, I guess, was the last one they could think of. Now, granted, I got to give him a couple points here of creativity. I love the spikes on the top of the vehicle. I've always thought that was really cool, being able to pick up a car and slam it into the spikes to do damage. And I got to admit, his special weapon does a ton of damage in this game, and he also has quite a bit of armor, and surprisingly, he's not very slow. He actually has 3-star rating for his speed, and of course, a 1-star handling, right? His handling is going to be trash. We all knew that. But the fact that he's actually pretty decent in terms of his speed output and his special is really good, I actually have to give Trashman the A tier treatment because he has a lot of fun to play. Next is Sweet Tooth, which, I mean, we all know Sweet Tooth is super overpowered in this game. His special, I don't know how it got past QA testing at all. It's just broken. So, of course, Sweet Tooth's going to be a S tier because of his special alone. Even if his car sucked and he had like no armor and he was super slow, it wouldn't matter. His special automatically makes him S tier. Minion, or sorry, Super Minion, he's okay. I think this is probably my least favorite version of Minion in any Twisted Metal. I don't know what it is about him. I think he just looks too edgy, I guess. It doesn't feel the same as the previous Minions have been. Is he bad by any means? No. I think he's still decent. He's pretty much got the same special as any other game. It's a freeze missile mixed with the same special as Warthog, and it does quite a bit of damage. He's also really quick, and he has decent handling and really good armor. So in reality, normally Minion would always get S tier, but just because I'm not a huge fan of the design of Minion this time around, I'm going to give him an A tier. And last but not least, we have Buggy, which was a brand new character to the series. We have not seen them return, and honestly, it makes sense. He kind of looks like he's straight out of like Vigilante 8 or some other off-brand car combat game. He looks really weird. He looks like a centipede. But that being said, I absolutely love his special weapon. It's a super cool, unique thing. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just like 3 bolts of electricity that lift you up in the air and they do damage and they throw you around. It's kind of overpowered, just like Sweet Tooth Special, especially if you spam it, but it's a lot of fun to not only use when you're playing as him, but it's cool to go against. But yeah, he's pretty quick. He's got really decent speed, pretty bad handling, but he's got good armor. So I truthfully want to put him in S tier because of his special, but I feel it's just a little bit too much. So we're going to give him the A tier treatment because his special weapon is just so unique and I love it playing with him. So that is it for right now for our tier list. Let me just go through real quick and make sure these are the spots where I want to put people and if I want to move anything around. So for S tier, we have Super Axel, Super Thumper, Mr. Zombie, and Sweet Tooth. Ironically, the only regular character in the game that I have in S tier right now is Mr. Zombie. So I'm looking at my A tier right now to see if any of these guys do I feel they could actually move up to S tier and I would be okay with that. And even though I feel like there's a lot of people in A tier right now, I don't feel very strong towards any one of these where I feel they really deserve the S tier treatment. So I'm going to leave them alone. I think the S tier is good. Same with the A tier. I don't see any of these guys being bad enough to have to move down to B either. So I'm going to keep them the way they are, I think. B tier, we have Warthog, Quattro, Maid, and Orbital. I think everybody here, again, is pretty much a middle-of-the-road character. B tier feels pretty good for them. And then we have C tier, we have Crusher, Gogolize, the Joneses, and Mr. Grimm. And truthfully, out of these guys, the only one I think should move would be Mr. Grimm going to trash. But I don't want to be that mean to him because, again, his car is still pretty quick. He's got decent handling. It's just his armor and his special just isn't that amazing. So that's why I feel like he's a C tier character. He's not terrible, but he's pretty bad. And lastly, the trash tier. And I feel these guys definitely deserve their place here. I'm not going to move them any way, shape, or form. So yeah, this is officially my full tier list of all the Twisted Metal 4 characters. The biggest list yet. Just remember that, like always, my opinion does not matter. This is all about your guys' thoughts and opinions. So let me know your tier list in the comment section below. I always love hearing it. Make sure to leave your like to show your support as always. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.